Okay. Guess we'll do this again. Good to go? You see it on yours now? Yeah. Stream broken. Try again later. All right, so we'll just start over. How your vehicle can save your life, meant to be clickbaity. A title of, hey, here are some items you should keep in your car, truck, SUV, whatever, that might help you out in an emergency situation is really long and not really catchy. So, how your vehicle can save your life. That is what we went with. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how your vehicle can save your life. What we're going to do, we're going to obviously go through introductions. We'll do some whiteboard review. We're not going to set up the board itself. We'll talk through it. We'll talk about strengths and weaknesses as well as some vehicle benefits, some traditional ones and some non-traditional ones. Considerations such as things to think about while you're setting your vehicle up, whether that be where you're going to put stuff, items you're going to buy, etc. And we'll talk about EPB, which is education, procurement, and building. And then we'll get into a little bit of my vehicle here. Who am I? Well, I'm Toby. I'm here to present to you what makes me qualified to do that. Absolutely nothing. Other than I have been a prepper now for probably a decade. So I've spent a lot of money and I've had a lot of things just not work. So with that, I'm trying to pass along some knowledge in hopes that maybe you don't spend as much money or fail as often as I did. But why am I choosing to stand up and talk to you about it if I don't feel I'm necessarily qualified to do it? Is nobody else is doing it. So I'd rather have some knowledge be out there. We'll kind of get to that a little later on in the presentation. I'll share some knowledge with you, but if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, that is what it is. At least I'm up here talking about it. If you have a question, go ahead and ask it. We'll ask it in the chat. We'll ask it here in the room. You might as well ask it. If you don't know the answer to a question, it's not a dumb question, especially when it comes to preparedness. So you might think, it's a dumb one, I don't want to seem stupid. Just ask it. You'll get the answer, and then you'll know for later on when somebody else asks you. Whiteboard review. Again, we're not going to set up the easel, but we'll talk about some strengths and weaknesses. First and foremost is your location. Population density and infrastructure. You might have the best roads in the world, but if you've got 3 million people living in a very tight space, that's not going to be good, especially in an emergency, whether it be a hurricane rolling up the coast and everybody's got to evacuate, or maybe a snowstorm rolls through and you're in Atlanta and you can't get home on the highway and your car's there for 2 or 3 days. Network. What does that network look like? Family, friends, neighbors, things like that. Where are there places that you can stop along your route if you needed to? Do you have people spread out that can help you in an emergency? Children, pets, what considerations do you need to make? Are your children of an age that they can be helpful? Can they hold a flashlight if you needed to change a tire or something like that? Or are they at an age where they just can't be helpful? Pets, are they protective or are they just kind of annoying and fun to have around the house? And then emergency services, how far are you from help? Police, fire, EMS, AAA, things like that. How far are you really? Skills and education. What is your knowledge level? Can you identify something that has gone wrong and can you fix that? Don't know. Physical fitness level. You might have all the knowledge in the world. You identified what the problem is. You have the tools to fix it. You have the knowledge to fix it, but you're not strong enough to turn the lug nut on the car to get the old tire off. Things like that. Physical fitness plays a big role in this. You got to understand what that is, and you have to be honest with yourself. Seasonality. Hot months, cold months. We're getting cold now. Might be time to think about putting long pants, extra pair of socks, maybe some warmer shoes, blankets, stuff like that in your vehicle, right? Seasonality will play a role in this. Your vehicle, age, size, reliability, fuel range, domestic versus foreign. That determines what kind of tools you put in there. You don't want to put a standard set of tools, SAE, into a foreign car that was made, let's say, in a place where they use the metric system, like Japan or something like that, or Korea. You want to make sure that you have the right tools for your car, and knowing whether it's domestic or foreign kind of help you along that way. And then the resources. Is your car, does it have a manual? And I don't mean that piece of, that book that came with the car when you bought it from the manufacturer. This is how you Bluetooth your phone to the entertainment system, but a true repair manual. this is where this stuff is, this is where this is located, these are the bolts that you need if you have to get more, etc. Manual, is it a strength or a weakness? Do you have one? Do you not have one? We'll get into some traditional vehicle benefits, and these ones are pretty obvious to everybody. Number one, faster transportation. Your vehicle transports you from point A to point B and every other point in between faster than if you were walking. Unless you got stuck in traffic, I suppose, but at least you'd be more comfortable. Elemental protection, wind, rain, snow, hot sun, hot temperatures, things like that. Your vehicle can protect you from that. Even motorcycles with big windshields and handguards and stuff like that, that can absolutely protect you from the elements. Light source, interior and exterior light source. You can turn your headlights on and you can see outside. You can turn the interior light on and find that thing that fell down between the seat and the center console that you're never going to see again. Defensive protection. If somebody is trying to come and has malintent, you can get in the car and lock the doors. And that's good for a little bit, maybe. It's not indefinite, depending upon your vehicle. I suppose you could have an armored vehicle. But it can provide defensive protection, then of course can also provide offensive protection. A 2-ton piece of metal traveling at 60 miles an hour will always be a 250-pound bag of meat. It's just always going to win. Additional vehicle benefits. Benefits that maybe you hadn't thought of that just are there. AM/FM radio communications. We have gotten to a point where our cell phones are everything. Streaming devices, for instance, that sometimes fail. The AM/FM radio can be a huge benefit for weather conditions, for traffic conditions, for just general news updates, anything like that. Turn the radio on, shut Spotify off in an emergency, or if you're coming up on traffic, or even just before you drive home, right? You might want to check traffic on Google Maps, or whatever your mapping software is. That's great, but the radio can give you information because people can call that in. Climate-controlled space. If it's really cold outside, you can get in your car and crank the heat. If it's really hot outside, you can get in your car and turn the AC on. It goes back to maintenance and reliability, though. Do those things work? Is your AC functional? Does it actually cool it off, or does it just blow hot air? Does your heater actually blow air at all? Period. Those are things to think about. It is a generator. Your car turns fuel, gasoline, diesel, whatever it is, into electric power to power things like the headlights, the spark plugs, the tail lights, all the instrumentation you see on the inside. So your vehicle is a generator. So in a situation where you're stuck, you're stranded, you can turn the car on and charge things like your phone, tablets, computers, whatever it is. Even when that fuel runs out, there will be power stored in the batteries, the cells. So it is a battery backup as well. To a certain point, obviously, power will deplete. You can turn the generator back on and bring those charges and those batteries back up. Signaling device. Headlights. You can flash your headlights, get somebody's attention. You can honk the horn and get somebody's attention. Things like that, just any kind of signaling can help. Obviously, you can get on top of your vehicle and start a fire on the hood or the roof. That would probably get somebody's attention too. And there are many other things. Some that were mentioned earlier were being able to transport more stuff, right? It is a force multiplier. It can carry more weight for longer distances. And the other thing was, of course, being able to have it be a shelter if anything were to ever break down, and instead of exerting all that energy to build a lean-to or a snow cave or something, you can just crawl inside the car. It's a ready-made shelter. So some considerations to be made.
Spare tire and some fuel would make for a pretty good signaling device too.
I suppose it would, yeah, absolutely. But how would you get the fuel out? So there's other things to think about there too. So setting your vehicle up for success. First and foremost, your vehicle's health is important. If you have a bad belt or bald tires, or you're running low on fuel, or it's just running rough, or whatever it is, you got a bad wheel bearing, your suspension is shot, that vehicle is going to be not as helpful as it could be, right? So before you go and spend all this money on all this gear you want to put in it, why don't you spend that money on the vehicle and get it up to snuff, get it up to par, so you don't have to worry about, is it going to start this morning? Maybe I need a new battery. Things like that. Build your vehicle an EDC bag. We'll get to this one a little later, but we talked about it in the last seminar. Your vehicle needs stuff too, whether it be things like fuses or zip ties, whatever it is. Build it an EDC bag. It's designed for the car, for the truck, for the SUV, the motorcycle, whatever it is. It's not designed for you. So put that together. Don't let your vehicle become your coffin. What I mean by that, of course, is if you're trapped in your vehicle and your car is going underwater, you're in your coffin. You better have a means to cut the seatbelt, to break the window, whatever it is, and it better be close by and not in the trunk somewhere. Don't let your vehicle become your coffin. Going along with that, know when to leave your vehicle behind. If you've been stuck in a certain place in an emergency situation for an extended period of time and you've decided nobody's coming, or they can't see me, or all of my signaling devices have not worked, I have no more battery power in my car, the fuel's gone, my cell phone's dead, I have no signal anyway, all that stuff, at some point you may have to leave that vehicle. Don't let the vehicle become a weight, an anchor, a rock. It should be a tool. If it stops being a tool, move on. Storage areas inside vehicles. Before we get all this stuff, we got to realistically know, where can we put it? Because I don't want to buy this big, bad, awesome tool device, put together a huge bag, a kit, and now I've got nowhere to put my car seat. Where's my kid going to sit? Stuff like that. So first and foremost, of course, glove box, center console, pockets in the doors where you put water bottles or trash or maps or whatever. Sun visors. You can buy an accessory that goes onto a sun visor that can organize stuff, whether it be MOLLE or zippered pockets or whatever it is. That is an option. Other compartments on the dash, like little cubbies down by the knees that pull out. General Motors has some vehicles where the entertainment center, the whole screen just slides up and there's a hidden cubby behind there. Spoiler alert. So if you're hiding anything in there, now I've just told everybody. Trunk cargo area, of course, yeah, duh. Bed of a truck, the trunk of a car, the back of an SUV, but also under your front seats, under your back seats, the backs of those front seats, the backs of those back seats, under the cargo area, like Honda Ridgeline, truck, big bed of a truck, it's got a trunk under there. You know, under those areas. And then, of course, where your spare tire is. If you've got an SUV or a car and the spare tire lives underneath the trunk, there's a lot of extra room around there that you could put things like a blanket, and it's out of the way unless you need it. Or things that might aid you in when you need that spare tire, like a pump, a better jack, things like that. So now that we've talked about some place to put it, we've identified, man, I have a whole lot more space in this vehicle than I ever thought possible. I can fit a lot of shit in here. Cool. Here are some things that I would recommend you strongly consider. That doesn't mean you absolutely need them. It also doesn't mean you necessarily know how to use them. But things that I strongly recommend: a spare tire in good working order. Now, some vehicles come with, what are they called? Space saver tires, whatever it is. It's basically this tiny little thin piece of rubber on the smallest rim I've ever seen, and it's deflated. And then on the side of the road, you've got a flat tire on the car, you've also got a flat one in the trunk. So now you've got to figure out how to use that. If you've never even looked inside your vehicle to find out what that spare tire is, probably a good time to do it. Familiarize yourself with, do I have a full-size spare, a donut, or a space saver? Or did my manufacturer not give me anything at all? They gave me a can of Fix-A-Flat and said, good luck. That's a thing. A jack. Well, my car came with a jack. Did you buy it used? Did you make sure it was still in there? Did you use it once in the garage and then never put it back in the car? Get yourself a good jack. I've actually got another one in here we'll go through later. A lug wrench with, if you need it, the locking lug tool. Nothing is more frustrating than getting 3 of the 4, 4 of the 5, 5 of the 6 lugs off, but there's that one with that funky damn thing in the middle, and you don't have the tool to do it, or you don't know where it is. Or you took it out of the car to change it at home, and it's sitting in the garage, and now you're 40 miles away. It doesn't help. Fix-A-Flat. Believe it or not, Fix-A-Flat can do a lot. It's not a cure-all. And by fix it flat, I'm speaking in general terms like Kleenex. Something you spray into your tire from an aerosol can that reinflates it to a point where you can go get further help. A nail in the tire, fix it flat will absolutely help that. It's not going to cure it. It's designed to get you to help. Jumper cables. We have all seen the people walking around the parking lot. Hey man, you got a set of cables? My battery's dead. I just need to jump. Well, why aren't you prepared? You are your first responder and your last line of defense. So if that's the case, I don't want to rely on somebody else for my safety. I'll put a set of jumper cables in the car. Same with a fire extinguisher. If I'm on fire on the side of the road, I don't want to have to wait 15 minutes for a fire truck to show up and put me out. Carry a fire extinguisher. A shovel goes a long way, and not just in the winter. If you find yourself in a situation where it's muddy, a shovel will absolutely help as well. A lot of uses for a shovel, and more than just getting your car out. At some point, you might need to dig a hole to go to the bathroom. Hope you brought a shovel or you're using your hands. Spare fuses. So, your vehicle has at least one fuse box. Some have multiple. They don't all take the same fuse. There are different sizes of fuses. At least 3 different sizes of fuses, not including those big square ones that have the funky plugs on them. Traditional fuses have multiple sizes. Know what you need, have spares. Same thing with bulbs. Headlight goes out and it's not a fuse, you're going to need a spare bulb. Even if you have a wreck and you bust the light itself, but the fixture's still good, you're still getting power to it, you can still light your way if you have a spare bulb. Tow strap. You might need to help yourself out of a situation, use somebody else to help you out of a situation, or you might want to be a good Samaritan and help somebody else out. Have a tow strap. And zip ties. But you didn't put duct tape on the list. What the hell? Zip ties of varying sizes. Zip ties can get into a lot of tiny little spaces that these fat hands can't. And tape sticks to everything. Yes, duct tape is good, but if you're going to choose between the two, my pick is zip ties. Multiple colors, multiple sizes, etc. Because then you can always go back and I can identify, hey, there's a pink zip tie on there, I probably need to fix that whenever you get where you're going. Any other item suggestions that you have?
Scan tool.
Oh, like an OBD2 scanner kind of a thing. Yeah. Identify, hey, I got a check engine light. What the heck is wrong with this thing? Yeah. Okay. Nothing? I covered it all. All right, good. By no means is this an exhaustive list. It's meant to give some general, it's meant to provoke thought, right? Hey, oh yeah, you know what? I don't have fuses in my car. Maybe I'll add those. Hey, he didn't talk about something for the dog. I keep a dog in the car all the time. He needs, food and water and spare bowls and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to talk about food, water, none of that, because that's a given. We've talked about that before. Adjacent communities that can help. People that have tried things or industries that exist. Overlanding. Vehicle-based self-reliance, usually in inhospitable places. Like a desert, hot deserts or cold deserts. The jungle. Countries that are not very safe. Things like that. Overlanding has gone through a lot of stuff. It's gone through a lot of iterations, and there are a lot of tools and accessories that have hit the market based on this overlanding industry. So it's a really good adjacent community to learn some stuff on. And traveling mechanics, AAA. You've seen those guys on the side of the road that fix a big rig or something like that. They know a lot. They've seen a lot. They've tried a lot. You can learn a lot from them. Roadside repairs and remote recoveries are two really, really important things that they do. They can change the tire. They can get you out of the woods in the middle of Alaska. So, EPB, education, procurement, and building. All right, we're at a point now. We've identified the places we can store all this stuff. We've talked about a couple things maybe that we want to look at. We understand the strengths and weaknesses of ourselves and our vehicles. Education. Tools are only effective if you know how to use it. Having an impact wrench doesn't do you any good if you think it's just a driver, right? Or vice versa. You need to know how to use it. Don't go out and buy something just because it made a list. That's why I was very hesitant to put together the helpful, the suggested items. They're very topical, very generic. I don't think you should go and buy something and put it in your kit just because it made somebody else's list. I have no use for anything from the Great White North necessarily. There might be something that somebody in Canada or Alaska has that I just don't need in my climate. You don't have to be an expert, but try to have a general understanding on a myriad of topics. So, I might not know how to use an OBD2 scanner, or even if it kicks out a code, understand what that means, but when I call the roadside mechanic, I can tell him, hey, this is what the scanner says. So then he understands, okay, here are the tools that I need to bring when I show up. By having that general understanding of knowing I need this tool to plug in and how to read it, help me out in that situation. Also might be like, oh, that's an easy fix. Yeah, I'll come to you before I come to this other unknown call. There are many educational resources. So going back to what I said at the beginning, trust but verify. I've said that many times before. I firmly believe in that. I am not an expert. I said that right up front. I know some stuff because I've done some stuff. That doesn't make me an expert. I might say something tonight that you think is gospel. Please don't think that. Verify it. Right? Go out to your vehicle. Hey, my vehicle doesn't even have fuses. It's 1935. It's all direct. It's just here. And then, of course, don't forget to factor yourself into any situation. Physical fitness and knowledge and education, all that stuff that we talked about before, play a very, very big role. All right, we're going to buy some stuff. Be careful when you select these items because you really do get what you pay for. A lot of times you get what you pay for. So you don't want to be in a situation where you cheaped out and you bought a cheap tool and it breaks on you. And that's the only one that you had. And now you're stuck. And with no cell service. And now you're going to be in a car for a while, and at some point you're going to have to leave.
I love Harbor Freight, man.
You love Harbor Freight. Yeah.
Hey, my car is stocked with Harbor Freight.
Yeah. Yeah. You get what you can afford, but get the best that you can afford. I also strongly recommend buying all the items yourself, right? Understand what you need for your car. Buy it all. Buy a bag to put it in. Put it together yourself. That does two things. One, keeps the cost actually down, believe it or not, because you can get only the things that you need. So many kits come with stuff, off-the-shelf kits, come with stuff that is only helpful in a very specific scenario, like snare wire. What the hell am I going to need snare wire for in a car, right? Well, you might be stranded for 4 days. In a major metro? Probably not, right? So that's not a good thing. And then, of course, they have to keep the overall cost of that thing down. So what do? They put cheap, inexpensive tools in there. The other thing that this does is by putting this together yourself, you know right where everything is. It's not like you're taking it out of the box for the first time on the side of the highway where cars are brushing past you at 75 miles an hour going, okay, well, everything's still in plastic. I'm going to have to cut this open, but the knife I see is right there underneath the plastic. It doesn't do you any good. Build it, put it together yourself. You know where everything is. You know you have the items that you're going to need. And then building. First and foremost, redundancies whenever possible, right? If you can have a multi-tool in a kit and then a multi-tool in the vehicle somewhere, it's not a bad idea. Put items that get used frequently in easily accessible places. For instance, if you are in your car is going down in a lake, probably not a good idea to have your seatbelt cutting tool and your window brake tool in the trunk. Doesn't do you any good. You can't get to it and you're going to drown, and then your vehicle becomes your coffin. So, keep them close by and then secure them. So if that vehicle rolls, first of all, you're not getting smacked in the face or other sensitive areas of the body with sharp, pointy objects that can hurt you. But also, they stay where they are, so that when you're upside down and the vehicle's finally settled, you know, hey, it was on the sun visor. Yep, there it is. It's still on the sun visor. Or it's in the center console, or whatever it is. So let's talk about my vehicle. First and foremost, kit types and placement. What do I have? Now, in an interest of operational security, I mean, realistically, we're talking about my specific vehicle. Might you have my specific vehicle? Yeah, I suppose. Might you really like some of the gear that I have and want to break into my car and take it? I suppose. But I thought it prudent to show some of this stuff. So first and foremost, vehicle escape tools. seatbelt cutter, window breaker, all that stuff. There are many different styles, sizes, colors, kinds. This one has the seatbelt tool there. This one also has a knife on it, and the window brake tool is right there. I don't need to swing it. I can just press it against the window. It's spring-loaded. It comes out. It shatters the glass. Now, if you have never tried to take a hammer or a rock or something to one of those side windows, they're very difficult to break with blunt objects. Very difficult to break. However, if you can break the surface tension of that glass with a scratch, whether it be a spark plug or something like that, something small and sharp, you're focusing the pressure. If you can break that surface tension, it shatters into a bajillion pieces. That's safety glass. I don't understand the safety aspect of 1,000 billion pieces, other than it's not as heavy, I guess. But if you can break the surface tension, the window will break. It really doesn't have anything to do with how hard you hit it. It's how focused of a pressure that is. So, where do you keep these? Well, I keep them in each door and in the center console. So, again, redundancies and easy to reach. I can reach in the door whether I'm upside down or not, and I can reach into the center console whether I'm upside down or not. Might those fly out? Yes, of course. There's a scenario. Anybody can think of a scenario where you get into an accident and the door comes off the car. Now you don't have that one. Or you flip upside down and your center console opens and all the contents go everywhere. Yes, of course, there are scenarios. So have redundancies. Trauma kit. So a trauma kit, something that can be quickly removed from the vehicle, is a good idea. This hangs off the back of my driver's seat. Again, there are things that you can buy to put on the backs of seats, whether they're Molly or Velcro or whatever, just for children, entertainment centers and things like that, or you can hang the iPad or coloring books or whatever. But this hangs off the back of the driver's seat, so I can reach it. I can reach right behind my head and grab it, or the passengers in the front can reach it. Any of the passengers in the back can reach it. If I needed to leave the vehicle to respond to an accident and I wanted to tell somebody, it's hanging off the back of my driver's seat, they know right where to go to get it. It got a little man on there, little EMS man on there. And in here are just basic trauma items. Simple pull open gives you access to medical supplies such as Israeli bandages, tourniquets, gauze, packing stuff. There's also an ice pack in here, you know, one of those old ones that you used to have in high school where you pop it, you break it, you shake it, it turns cold. There's that in here. There's also over-the-counter medicines in here. And we talked about that in an earlier seminar. I have used more ibuprofen than I have morphine. So ibuprofen is a good thing to keep in here. Little simple over-the-counter stuff is good to have in the trauma kit too, because it's not necessarily trauma. If I'm driving down the road on a 4-hour trip and I've got a headache and there's a gas station for a while, I've got headache pills in the back. Right behind my head, conveniently enough. And then the vehicle kit. This lives in the cargo area. This one is obviously bigger, and we'll go through some of the items. We did that last time, but I want to get a little bit deeper in this one and show you some more very specific items that I got. We'll start with can of Fix-A-Flat. Again, it's like Kleenex. It is what it is. This is by Slime. I also have a shovel. This one happens to be a foldable shovel, so I can unscrew this. It folds out into a shovel. It does have these comically serrated edges. It's not going to cut anything. A tire inflator. And this is a dual piston tire inflator to go along with a pressure gauge and the hose, so I can reinflate my tire if my spare, let's say, is under pressure or my actual tires are under pressure. Speaking about tire pressure, it's not just about fuel economy. If you run, especially when it gets colder, you need to top those tires up, because if you run at lower pressures and high speeds for long durations, you're introducing more heat into that tire than necessary, and that tire will fail faster. So tire pressures are important. Knife, we've talked about that before. A jack. And this is a big bottle jack. A 4-ton bottle jack. Well, my car comes with a jack. You ever tried to use that thing? It is probably more difficult than you think. Almost guaranteed to be more difficult than you think. And usually some cars have very specific places that you have to put it underneath the frame, especially with the unibody construction. So a simple bottle jack, I could put really anything on top of this to help increase the surface area. I could put anything underneath this to help increase the surface area so it doesn't sink into the ground. And it's also a much wider base than most jacks, and it's more beefy. 4 tons, 8,000 pounds it'll help with. So a much better bottle jack. Toe strap. And jumper cables. Again, everything here was purchased and then put in, not as a kit. Bungee cords. Not a bad idea for bungee cords. I've also got some gloves, some smaller bungee cords. In this area, I have a tire repair kit. So, if I get one flat, that's this one. If I get another flat, that could be the spare, and then this allows me to repair busted valves, valve cores. I've got beef jerky sticks here where I can actually repair the tires themselves with simple punctures. Don't discount a tire repair kit. My wife got a tire puncture when her car had about 7,000 miles on it. It was a simple surveyor's nail that went through. Pretty beefy nail as nails go. Surveyor's nail goes in, we identify it, pull it out. I used the tire repair kit. She traded the vehicle in at 52,000 miles and we had never replaced that tire. So it held up for about 45,000 miles, that repair kit. It can be done. They'll tell you not to do that though, because that's lawyers speaking, but they can help a lot. Tie-down straps, ratchet style tie-down straps are good. Got one of those, as well as a cam strap with a simple cam buckle. Press to release, hold tight. Flashlight, because you can't have enough flashlights, very important. And then, of course, zip ties. Zip ties, like I said, very important. I prefer those over duct tape. I actually don't have any duct tape in this kit at all, because the zip ties are just easier. They get into smaller spaces, and I don't have to fight with them near as much. That's what I keep in my kit, my vehicle kit. Again, it's designed to support the vehicle, not me. But you said to carry spare fuses and spare bulbs. Those live in the glove compartment. They don't live in this kit for me because I don't necessarily want to have to go into the cargo area to replace a fuse. If I can reach it right there in the front, that's where those live. Questions about anything on the table or anything not on the table? Any final questions at all? A lot of stuff to consider. Again, don't jump right to buying stuff. Figure out what your vehicle needs, where you are, what your skill level is, what your physical fitness level is. Do you know how to use said tool before you buy said tool? All of that stuff is far more important than going out and buying things just to put in the car. A blanket is going to be more useful than a shovel in most cases. But a shovel is very important when you need it. So some additional seminars that are coming up. Next month is when to bug in or bug out. And then in February, we're going to talk about some strategic gear considerations. That one is more defensive and offensive focused, specifically. How to carry that stuff, where to carry that stuff, etc. When to bug in or bug out, exactly what it sounds like. When do I know I need to leave a situation? Or when should I not ever try to go outside and leave a situation? When should I bunker in, so to speak? The ones we've already done, of course, first steps to preparedness, the skills that are incredibly useful and helpful that you should consider learning, ways you're making your home a target, safety at home, 3 steps to an effective kit, i.e. how to build this stuff, And then, of course, we just got through the vehicle one. Any final questions or anything? Perfect. Check the chat. Good on the chat. Probably because people don't know it exists.
You don't try to do fuel or anything?
So spare fuel, so again, it's very specific. It comes back to infrastructure. How far are the gas stations apart, right? If there's one gas station in town and it runs out of gas, yeah, I would recommend spare fuel. Carrying it, traveling with you, great. Overlanding community does that a lot. They put in long-range fuel tanks and things.
But it has its own inherent dangers too.
Flammable.
Yeah, it's exactly. You just gave the bad guy a big old Molotov cocktail. All you have to do is ignite it, right? So yeah, it absolutely comes with its own set of challenges. But spare fuel is not a bad thing, but again, it's very specific to your location.
Yeah, there's some accessories you can buy to mount it on the outside, like on the tire hitch or jerry cans, or put it on the roof.
The rotopacks and stuff, yeah. The overlanding community really does it good there. Fuel, food, water, of course, that's a given. You've got to have food and water. This is a water filtration system. The whole thing is packed up in here, so I can filter water, even if I just have water bottle, any water bottle that you pick up off the ground, I can filter it and use that vessel.
I've heard those things are like sucking air through like the
So you're talking about like a life straw.
Okay.
Yes, so this is not a life straw. This is a Sawyer Mini.
Oh.
And so what this one does is I can actually screw this thing right onto a water bottle,
Okay.
and then fresh water comes out the other side. I just literally squeeze the water bottle, and it'll fill this up. Or,
So you don't have to suck through your mouth.
not even close.
Okay.
Not even close.
'Cause those life straws looked attractive, but
Yeah, oh, yeah.
they were on sale, and I was like, and then I started reading the reviews,
For the
and they were
same
like,
price-
this thing doesn't look practical.
For the same price, you can get the Sawyer Mini.
Okay.
And then it also comes with this little bag here, which of course is being difficult. But basically there's a bag, so if you don't have a water bottle, how do I collect the bad water to put it in my good vessel? I don't want to fill my clean vessel up with shitty water. Comes with a bag, you fill the bag up, the bag screws on, and then you just squeeze the bag. Or the bag is now your clean stuff, but usually you're going to want to use this for the dirty water, and then put it in a vessel. And then in there is a syringe and a straw. So I could theoretically use this just as a straw. That's why it's got those little nubs on it. But the syringe is also for back flushing it, so it lasts longer.
Basically, what you have between your fingers is the filter.
Yes, that is your filter. 10,000 gallons that can filter when properly cleaned. I.e., every time you use it, get some clean water, back flush it, it'll filter up to 10,000 gallons. That tiny little thing right there.
Definitely practice using it first.
Strongly recommended, yes.
You don't want to be trying to figure that out.
When I traveled on planes a lot for a living, I carried that Nalgene bottle just in the backpack. Your TSA, no problem. Love it. Because my thought was, well, if this plane goes down somewhere, I'll have some water, or at least a means to filter water.
And I didn't see any signaling devices.
Such
Road
as
flares,
road flares.
reflectors.
Right, so those things have an expiration date that is also exacerbated by temperature. They're designed to withstand a certain amount. It's just something that I chose not to put in here. You can carry means of starting fire and stuff like that you could do.
Does that flashlight have like an SOS feature?
That one doesn't. This one's got the strobe.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so
That
you've got a
works.
powerful flashlight with strobe. You can do things like that. There's a flashlight in my pocket. There's one on my keychain, one in there, one in every bag.
I'm thinking more like,
Don't hit me, please.
yeah.
The
you're
problem, okay, so you bring up a good point. How many police cars get hit on the side of the road?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
You know why?
All kind of people can get it.
Because it's the shiny effect. Ooh, that's a cool light. And then just like riding a motorcycle, you go where you're looking. It's the same in a car, right? You go where you're looking. People are like, oh, rubbernecking, what's over there? Not realizing they're steering right into it. So I understand where you're coming from. There's two schools of thought. The first school of thought is, I want to be as visible as possible. The other is, kind of where I fall, I don't really want anybody to know I'm there because I don't want to make myself a target, whether that be somebody running into the back of me. If I'm far enough off the road, I should be okay. If I'm on basically a no-shoulder area, I'll drive that car on a flat tire and ruin that rim if it means I can get to a better location to perform whatever repair I need to do on that vehicle. But I understand your point, so that's something to take into consideration
Well, I
too.
mean, sometimes you just need to wait for help. I mean,
Right, yep,
first of all, you gotta let them know you need help.
right.
And then, of course, you don't want to get run over.
So arguably, one of the things that would get you help fastest, light a fire. Because people will call in a fire. They won't call in a car broken on the side of the road, but if they see a car broken down on the side of the road with a fire near it, behind it, side of it, front of it, whatever, they'll call that in real quick. Start a fire. Don't go crazy and burn the place down. Don't do it if you're in California, right? But start a fire. People will call that in.
If you had a railroad flare, it'd start a fire pretty quick.
You could. You could. Yep. Definitely other items to consider.
Fire starter.
Yeah, fire starter, even just a simple lighter could go a long way because you can burn a car manual.
Mhm.
I mean, that will eventually burn. Get another one. All things to think about for sure. Well, good deal. Any last questions, comments?
What bag is that?
That is a 511 range bag, load ready haul bag. The pack is the one that you wear.
Oh, okay, so that's more like a duffel, not a.
Correct, yeah, it's not, it's just duffel bag with a sling strap and carry straps. The load ready haul pack is the one that you wear.
Nice.
Yep.
And what knife is that?
The knife over here is actually a Gerber, it's the Bear Grylls, but they make, I'm not a knife person.
No.
This one is just a half serrated, half straight blade, but it's rubberized. Gerber makes a lot of really, really good stuff. And this one just happens to have on it the ferro rod. So fire start. And then on the back of the sheath is a whetstone. So you can sharpen the blade as well. So it's good. Of course, it's Bear Grylls, right? So it's got to have the, hey, here's my signals for help stuff. And it comes with that silly little survival guide, which is comical. But realistically, I love the knife. The knife has always treated me very good. The back you can use as a pommel, and it's got a whistle on it. So it's a helpful tool. I really like this one. I recommend it. I prefer a half serrated blade. They do make a full straight blade version of that as well, but that's the one that I chose. I like that one. But Gerber makes quality shit.
The Harbor Freight knife does not do that.
Does it come with its own whetstone to sharpen it?
I don't know, it comes with some extra stuff, but I don't know if it's that sharp.
Might not stay sharp very long.
Yeah, depends on what kind of steel it's made out of too, for sure. Yeah. Cool. All right, well, we'll go ahead and kill the live stream now. But yeah, if you've got any other questions, definitely let me know.